David Chun moved through the empty hallways of Lincoln High School with practiced silence, his custodial cartwheels barely whispering against the polished floors. At 5:30 in the morning, the building belonged to him alone, a sanctuary of equations and possibilities that most would never recognize. He paused outside room 204, where complex calculus problems still covered the whiteboard from yesterday's advanced mathematics class. His weathered hands, callous from months of mopping and cleaning, traced the air as he mentally solved each equation in seconds. The irony wasn't lost on him that these same problems had once filled his MIT classroom, where eager graduate students hung on his every word. Now he simply erased them, preparing the board for another day of mediocrity under Mr. Harrison's arrogant instruction. The soft buzz of his phone interrupted his thoughts. A text from his 10-year-old daughter Lily, already awake and working through differential equations at their kitchen table. Her message made him smile despite the weight of his circumstances. She had discovered a more elegant solution to yesterday's homework problem, one that would likely confuse her public school teachers if they ever saw her real mathematical abilities. Where in the world are you watching from right now? And what time is it where you are? David's story continues in moments, but first, we'd love to know you're part of our global community. David pocketed his phone and continued his rounds, unaware that today would be the day his carefully constructed invisible life would shatter completely. By 7:15, the school transformed from David's peaceful domain into a chaos of teenage energy and slamming lockers. He retreated to the supply closet, organizing cleaning materials while teachers rushed past without acknowledgement. To them, he was furniture, as invisible as the floors he mopped and the windows he cleaned. Mr. Harrison strutted down the hallway like a peacock, his expensive suit and polished shoes announcing his superiority to anyone within earshot. He paused near David's cart, speaking loudly to a colleague about his advanced placement students and their upcoming state mathematics competition. The man's voice dripped with condescension as he explained how he alone could guide these brilliant minds, how his superior teaching methods produced champions. David continued wiping down surfaces, his jaw tightening slightly as Harrison dismissed other teachers as intellectually inferior. What Harrison didn't notice was the way David's eyes tracked every equation the teacher scribbled on his notepad, or how David's fingers unconsciously worked through the solutions faster than the so-called expert could even finish writing them. Years of hiding had taught David patience, but listening to mathematical incompetence presented as brilliance tested even his considerable restraint. At home that evening, Lily bounced excitedly around their small apartment, her latest mathematical discovery burning to be shared. She had been working on prime number patterns, finding sequences that had eluded professional mathematicians for decades. David listened with quiet pride, knowing his daughter's mind operated on levels that would astound the academic world if they ever had the chance to witness her gifts. Principal Martinez had always prided herself on seeing beyond surface appearances. Unlike other administrators who barely noticed support staff, she made it a point to acknowledge everyone who kept Lincoln High running. She had observed David Chun for months, noticing details others missed. The way he paused thoughtfully at classroom whiteboards, how his eyes lingered on complex mathematical proofs with an intensity that seemed out of place for a custodian. Most telling was the dog-eared mathematics journal she glimpsed in his back pocket, filled with handwritten notes in margins dense with calculations. Meanwhile, Mr. Harrison's reputation for arrogance had reached her office through multiple complaints. Parents reported his dismissive attitude towards students who struggled. Fellow teachers whispered about his habit of belittling anyone he deemed intellectually inferior, which included virtually everyone at Lincoln High. During lunch, Martinez witnessed Harrison's latest display of superiority. He cornered the young physics teacher, loudly explaining why her approach to quantum mechanics was fundamentally flawed. His voice carried across the faculty lounge as he pontificated about academic hierarchies and intellectual worth. David passed through quietly, emptying waste baskets with mechanical precision. Harrison barely glanced at him, continuing his lecture about how some people were simply born to lead while others were meant to serve. The casual cruelty of his words hung in the air like toxic smoke. That afternoon, Martinez made a decision that would change everything. She began researching David Chen's background, starting with a simple internet search that would yield shocking results. Principal Martinez stared at her computer screen in disbelief. The search results for David Chen painted a picture so startling she had to read them twice. MIT professor of theoretical mathematics, published researcher with dozens of peer-reviewed papers, winner of the prestigious Breakthrough Prize for his work on prime number theory. The man emptying her trash cans had once been called a mathematical genius by the New York Times. The article stopped abruptly 3 years ago, around the time of a tragic car accident that claimed his wife Sarah, also a MIT professor. After that, David Chen had simply vanished from academic circles, leaving behind a brilliant career and devoted students who still posted tributes to his transformative teaching. Meanwhile, Harrison strutted through the hallways like a conquering general, his leather briefcase swinging importantly at his side. He made a point of speaking loudly whenever David was within earshot, discussing his upcoming presentation to the State Education Board about excellence in mathematics instruction. During his advanced calculus class, Harrison noticed several students struggling with a particularly complex integration problem. Instead of offering patience or alternative explanations, he launched into a tirade about intellectual laziness and natural limitations. His voice grew louder as he proclaimed that mathematical ability was a gift reserved for the truly exceptional, like himself. David passed by the open classroom door, pushing his cart of supplies. For just a moment, he paused, watching Harrison butcher an explanation that could have been elegantly simplified. His hands gripped the cart handle tighter, knuckles whitening with restrained frustration as brilliant young minds were being poisoned by incompetence disguised as authority. The tension at Lincoln High reached a boiling point when Harrison overheard two students discussing their confusion about his latest lesson on differential equations. Instead of reflection, he became defensive, his voice echoing through the corridor as he declared that perhaps some students simply lacked the intellectual capacity for advanced mathematics. David's jaw clenched as he witnessed another group of bright teenagers lose confidence in their abilities under Harrison's toxic instruction. These were the same concepts David had taught to graduate students, explained with clarity and encouragement that built understanding rather than destroying it. That evening, Lily met David at school for the first time. Her regular babysitter was sick, and David had no choice but to bring her along for his evening cleaning shift. She skipped through the empty hallways with infectious joy, marveling at the mathematical equations still visible on various whiteboards. What part of this story resonates most with you so far? Are you connecting with David's quiet strength, or perhaps feeling frustrated by the injustice he faces? Share your thoughts as we continue this journey together. In room 204, Lily stopped before Harrison's whiteboard, studying the poorly explained calculus problem with genuine curiosity. Her small finger traced the equations in the air as she whispered corrections to herself, instinctively finding the elegant solutions that had eluded Harrison's clumsy instruction. David watched his daughter with mixed pride and anxiety, knowing her brilliance was both a gift and a potential danger in their carefully hidden life. Harrison's voice boomed through the empty school as he returned unexpectedly for forgotten papers. He discovered David and Lily in his classroom, the small girl still studying his whiteboard with intense concentration. His face flushed with indignation at what he perceived as an invasion of his intellectual territory. He demanded to know what a janitor's child was doing in his advanced mathematics classroom, his tone dripping with the assumption that such spaces were reserved for the academically elite. David stepped protectively in front of Lily, his calm demeanor masking the storm building within. Harrison's eyes narrowed as he noticed Lily's obvious fascination with the mathematical equations. With cruel amusement, he decided to teach both father and daughter a lesson about knowing one's place in the intellectual hierarchy. He pointed to the most complex problem on his board, a differential equation that had stumped several of his advanced placement students. His lips curled into a condescending smile as he addressed the 10-year-old girl with mock formality. He explained that this was graduate-level mathematics, far beyond what someone from her background could possibly comprehend. The challenge was issued like a weapon designed to humiliate and exclude. David's hands trembled slightly as he recognized the cruelty of the moment. Harrison was using his daughter's innocence as a target for his own insecurities and prejudices. The equation on the board was indeed complex, but David knew with absolute certainty that Lily could solve it faster than Harrison himself ever could. Harrison's voice grew louder as he warmed to his cruel performance, relishing the opportunity to demonstrate intellectual superiority over what he perceived as lesser beings. He gestured dramatically at the differential equation, explaining in condescending detail why such advanced mathematics required years of proper education and natural intellectual gifts. The problem involved complex, multivariable calculus with boundary conditions that would challenge graduate students. Harrison had deliberately chosen his most difficult example, one that even his advanced placement students had struggled to understand despite his lengthy explanations. Lily looked up at her father with questioning eyes, unsure why this angry man was being so mean about something that seemed perfectly clear to her. David's heart broke seeing his daughter's confusion at encountering such unnecessary cruelty for the first time in her protected life. Harrison continued his lecture about academic hierarchies and proper educational foundations, making pointed references to socioeconomic backgrounds and their limitations on intellectual development. His words cut through the classroom like sharp glass, designed to wound and exclude. The differential equation stared down from the whiteboard like a mathematical mountain, its complex symbols and integration signs forming an intimidating barrier that Harrison believed would prove his point about intellectual superiority. He had no idea that the small girl before him had been solving similar problems since age 7. David felt the weight of 3 years of careful invisibility pressing against his chest. Every instinct screamed to defend his daughter, but revealing her abilities would shatter their peaceful anonymity forever. Harrison's performance reached its crescendo as he pulled out his phone, deciding to record what he believed would be an amusing demonstration of intellectual hierarchy. He wanted to capture the moment when reality crushed the naive assumptions of people who didn't understand their proper place in society. The math teacher's voice became theatrical as he addressed Lily directly, speaking slowly as if to a much younger child. He explained that solving this particular equation would normally earn someone thousands of dollars in salary, since only highly educated professionals could possibly understand such complex mathematical concepts. His cruel smile widened as he delivered the final insult with mock generosity. If this little girl could somehow solve what had stumped his brightest students, he would gladly give her his entire yearly teaching salary. The challenge hung in the air like a toxic cloud, designed to humiliate and exclude. David's protective instincts warred with years of practiced invisibility. He had spent 3 years building a safe, quiet life for his daughter, avoiding the spotlight that had once defined his academic career. But watching Harrison's deliberate cruelty toward his innocent child pushed him beyond his carefully maintained limits. Lily tugged gently on her father's sleeve, her voice small and confused as she whispered that the problem wasn't very hard. She didn't understand why the mean teacher was making such a big deal about something that seemed so obvious to her young mind. The moment balanced on a knife's edge between revelation and continued hiding, with a 10-year-old girl's mathematical genius about to shatter everything. David's heart pounded as he gave his daughter a barely perceptible nod. 3 years of hiding had been shattered by one man's cruelty, but perhaps it was time for the truth to emerge. Lily stepped forward with the innocent confidence that only children possess, completely unaware of the magnitude of what was about to unfold. She approached the whiteboard with casual ease, as if Harrison had asked her to spell her name rather than solve graduate-level mathematics. Her small hand picked up a marker and she began working through the differential equation with fluid grace that made complex calculus look like simple arithmetic. Harrison's smug expression slowly transformed into confusion, then shock, as symbols flowed across the board in perfect mathematical harmony. Lily's solution was not only correct, but elegant, using advanced techniques that simplified the problem in ways his textbooks had never demonstrated. The 10-year-old girl worked through partial derivatives and boundary conditions with the same natural ease most children showed with addition and subtraction. Her handwriting was neat and precise, each step logical and beautifully executed, revealing mathematical intuition that defied explanation. Within minutes, the impossible had been accomplished. The equation that had stumped Harrison's advanced placement students for weeks was solved completely, with alternative approaches sketched in the margins that demonstrated even deeper understanding. Lily turned around with a bright smile, completely unaware that she had just performed what most would consider a mathematical miracle. She simply wanted to know if she had done it correctly, her innocent eyes seeking approval rather than recognition. Harrison stood frozen in complete silence, his phone still recording what would become the most humbling moment of his academic career. The mathematical solution on his whiteboard was flawless, demonstrating understanding that exceeded his own capabilities by orders of magnitude. His face cycled through disbelief, embarrassment, and growing panic as the implications sank in. A 10-year-old child had just solved in minutes what he struggled to explain over several class periods. The elegant approach she used revealed gaps in his own mathematical knowledge that he had successfully hidden behind arrogance and authority. Principal Martinez appeared in the doorway, drawn by the unusual silence from Harrison's typically boastful voice. She took in the scene with sharp eyes, noting the completed equation on the board, the stunned teacher, and the small girl who looked like she had just finished a pleasant puzzle. David stepped forward, his years of hiding finally coming to an end. His voice was quiet but carried the unmistakable authority of someone who truly understood the mathematical concepts at play. He began explaining his daughter's solution with the precision and clarity that had once made him legendary among MIT students. As David spoke, Principal Martinez recognized the voice of a master teacher, someone who could illuminate complex concepts with elegant simplicity. Harrison's crude explanations paled in comparison to the mathematical poetry flowing from the man he had dismissed as merely a custodian. The balance of power in room 204 shifted permanently as 3 years of carefully maintained invisibility dissolved into mathematical brilliance that could no longer be contained. Principal Martinez stepped fully into the classroom, her administrative instincts taking control of a situation that was clearly extraordinary. She had researched David's background that afternoon, but witnessing his mathematical expertise firsthand transformed academic credentials into living, breathing brilliance. Harrison stammered pathetic attempts at explanation, trying to diminish what had just occurred while simultaneously claiming credit for recognizing the child's potential. His words rang hollow against the undeniable evidence written across his own whiteboard in Lily's precise handwriting. David's transformation was remarkable to witness. The quiet, invisible custodian dissolved, replaced by the confident professor who had once commanded lecture halls filled with brilliant graduate students. His explanations flowed with natural authority as he walked Martinez through the elegant mathematical concepts his daughter had demonstrated. Lily beamed with innocent pride, finally understanding that she had done something special. She began excitedly explaining to Principal Martinez how her daddy had taught her to see patterns in numbers, how mathematics was like music with beautiful hidden harmonies waiting to be discovered. The contrast between Harrison's crude teaching methods and David's natural pedagogical gifts became impossible to ignore. Where Harrison used intimidation and confusion, David employed clarity and encouragement. Where Harrison hoarded knowledge like a miser, David shared it like a generous gift. Principal Martinez made a decision that would change everything. She pulled out her own phone and began documenting what she was witnessing, knowing the school board would need proof of what was about to unfold in her office. 3 months later, Professor David Chin stood before his new advanced mathematics classroom at Lincoln High, watching eager young faces light up as complex concepts became crystal clear under his patient guidance. The school board had moved swiftly once Principal Martinez presented her documentation, offering David a position that honored both his credentials and his character. Harrison had quietly resigned, his arrogance finally meeting consequences he could not escape. The video of Lily solving his impossible equation had become legendary among mathematics educators, a powerful reminder that brilliance often hides in unexpected places. Lily flourished in the gifted program Martinez had specially designed for her, working with university professors who marveled at her intuitive understanding of advanced mathematical concepts. Her innocent joy in learning infected everyone around her, creating an environment where intellectual curiosity thrived without intimidation. David's classroom became a sanctuary where struggling students found encouragement instead of condescension, where mathematical beauty was revealed rather than hidden behind academic arrogance. His gentle teaching style, forged through years of patient explanation to his daughter, transformed young minds that had been dismissed by previous instructors. If this story touched your heart and reminded you that everyone deserves recognition for their hidden gifts, let us know where you're listening from around the world. Subscribe for more inspiring stories that celebrate the extraordinary potential in ordinary people. The janitor's cart gathered dust in the supply closet, no longer needed by a man who had finally found his way home to where he truly belonged.